Just kidding. I used to be a tax accountant, and I still do accounting pro bono for people. I mostly help with 501c3 charitable organizations, help them either set up their accounting or do whatever, but pro bono is the magic word because when you do it for free, they love you. They can't get mad at you. They love you. They're wonderful. And so I like it that way. But you can imagine back in my days as a tax accountant, I scared a lot of the accountants and the CPAs. But it was interesting because we get to a point where we have a client come in, usually a girl in her 20s who married a man in his 80s, and she has a big nasty tax bill, and his family's angry because he passed away, and she's got quite a big tax liability, and so they would just be like, "Where's the code? For some for?" And she's like, "I don't know even what y'all are saying." And so they would be like, "Lily, we need someone that speaks regular people talk." And so come in here, so I'd sit down and be like, "Sugar, let me just tell you now, okay? Sugar. We got some problems, okay?" And they just be like, "Just tell me how much I owe the IRS." Flip open a checkbook, write, you know, $250,000 check out to the IRS, write a $25,000 check to us, and the CPAs were like, "Thank you." So it was really fun. It was a lot of fun, and of course I would go to all the marketing lunches and help scare up new business, which they liked, because apparently accountants don't like talking to regular people. So it's good, and about anything other than usually accounting, so it's good. But a little bit about my background is I started being like a preparedness person, which in today's world is kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, it kind of is cool now to be a preparedness person, but it can also be a little scary, like an apocalyptic person or whatever.
In certain circles.
That's right. That's right. So for about the last 10 years, my life has been about preparing, but for a very different reason than a lot of people. I really do feel strongly that as people in our communities and people that love other people, that our responsibility is to be prepared so that we can be of service in a crisis. And we got to hear one of the ladies from Harriman, this lady over all of the search stuff, talk about the fire. Well, I happened to talk to someone else that worked with her on that fire, and she told me about a family that had a mom and a dad and 4 kids, and the kids were like 15, 13, 10 and 7, I think. And she said that they all checked in, they popped up their little tent inside the high school gymnasium, put all their stuff in it. They all had little matching shirts. They checked in, reported for duty. They were able to man the kids at the 15 and 13-year-old at the station checking people in. They even created a more efficient system of checking people in, had it alphabetized and color-coded and numbered and cross-referenced, and they were able to find information at a moment's notice. The little kids were helping direct people on where to go and help people find things, and the parents were able to go and help do a lot of the hands-on things. And she said, "It changed my life forever watching our family." They weren't panicked, they weren't victims. They came there and they were prepared to help. And they immediately jumped in, and everyone had a purpose, and they were experienced. And she said because they did this every day, all the time. And she said they weren't creepy, scary, overly nerdy, weird. She said they were just your average family walking in the door. You would just picture them at Disneyland, or you'd picture them, you know, in the middle of an earthquake. Like, they're just this sweet family. And so it really inspired me to really kind of become that with my family. How I got into dehydrating, my original story is that, and I have 2 children. I'm married to a wonderful man who sells insurance software for a living, and he travels a lot, so I'm home alone a lot, so this is what I do in my spare time. Yeah, it's good times. I do Franken food. Creepy, I love it. And so I have a son who's 12 and a daughter who's 10, and they are just lovely. And as I said earlier, in order to earn their computer time, they either have to grind wheat on the hand wheat grinder, or I make them dehydrate stuff, or I make them bag it up. It's awesome. It's like a sweatshop. It's beautiful. So that's why I like it. All of you have been given a handout tonight, and we'll go through this a little bit more, so if you just want to hang on to it, and I'll explain some things as we go along. But years and years and years ago, I have a cute little grandma. She's originally from Mexico, and she's just cute, makes little tortillas, little beans, all this stuff. Well, my food storage plan originally was to go to her house in a crisis, because that is what you do, right? There's a crisis, you go to your grandma's or your mom's, or you just have someone else take care of you. Well, grandmas don't live forever. When my grandma passed away, I realized I got to come up with a new food storage plan. And it was interesting because we were in a very small apartment, and you have very small living accommodations. And even though we bought a huge house in Texas, we ended up moving to the Bay Area in California, back to a very, very small house. And so it's been interesting as our needs have shifted on housing. Dehydration became a favorite way for me to do food storage. I mean, I do all of them, but this is my favorite way because it just goes into such a small space. And it just makes you feel so warm and fuzzy, seeing all this little food floating around. So I don't know. As you can see, I actually do, this is how I normally live. This is how I actually live. I have a grid system in my kitchen against the back wall where you normally have a hutch or a beautiful something displaying your gorgeous dishes. Those are up in a cupboard. Nobody needs to see those. You can see them when you eat at my house. And so for me, instead of having something that's going to come down on us in an earthquake, I decided to have grids that would hold all of these things. So I originally had 144, it was either 142 or 144 jars of these in mason jars. And I walked in there one day and I was like, we are due for that earthquake any day now. And I'm going to end up having to use my first aid skills in my kitchen just to go get food because these are all going to blow up and bust. So I started looking around and found a company that does these little guys, and they're about $1.25. And then I did add, what's that?
Oh, okay.
You bet. And then the company is called, and I don't know how to pronounce this, so I will spell it for you. Their website is www.freundcontainer.com. So Freund Container. I don't know. I'm not German. My last name is Herman, and it's German, but my husband's the German one amongst us. So excellent.
One more time.
It's FREUND container.com. Wonderful. And just look up peanut butter jars, and there's 2 different ones, and this is the 32 ounce, I don't know, whichever the larger one is. And they're about $1.25 if you get enough of them, and if you guys decide that you would like to have some of these and try them out, I'm happy to do an order. I buy all the time, and the more that we buy, the more the price goes down. So, and I love them, and I just went ahead and bought lids, and you can tell I just used ones I already had, and some of them match, some of them don't. And hang on, Brent, don't get mad. Thank you. Okay. I've had a little cold, so I apologize. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your handout really fast. In here is just kind of the, how do I dry food? So in case you are a starter, beginner, then these are your original ones. Here's some equipment lists. They're really fun lists for those of you who've already been doing this for a while, if you know about it, are really, when you start getting into the, here's the produce to buy at what times of the year to look for. This is how you know you're getting a good deal at the store or somewhere, because these are the things that are kind of in season and that you can get for a good price. I love this list. I have this hanging on my fridge. It's the only thing on my fridge because everything else is on a little board elsewhere, but this I have on my fridge, and this keeps me on track about what I should grow in my garden as well as what I can purchase in the marketplace. Love that. This will give you a little bit more information on rehydration, which most people want to know that. That's usually pretty much one of the main questions while you're here. And then the last 2 pages, this little page right here is a little frequently asked questions. This is like, what kind of dehydrator do I use? What do I like to do? Because you might have those questions, and you're welcome to email me if we don't get to your question tonight. But in here, the Excalibur, you've seen the big Excalibur that has the trays that look like this. It's like the Cadillac dehydrator. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. It's got the square trays. Do I hate the round ones? No, absolutely not. I love a round dehydrator, and I think if you have one, it's wonderful. The thing that you just got to be focused on is because the heat blows up from the bottom, the fans at the bottom of food is going to get done faster, and the top food is going to get done slower, and you don't want it to rot, and you don't want the bottom food to get so dry that you'll never, ever, ever rehydrate it again, which is not completely impossible. So on those, you're just going to need to be a little bit more diligent. And every, about in the middle of, like you put it in the morning, just about in the middle of the day, go pop the trays around, just kind of rotate a few of them. Before you go to bed, rotate the trays around and make that happen. On the square ones, why they're nice is the fans at the back and it blows across. And so you really are able to set it and walk away. And I'm all about, in today's world, we have ice hockey and horse lessons and piano and violin. Nobody can do the same sport or the same musical instrument, right? It would just be a wonderful dream if our kids would all go to the same place, but they don't. And so I do a lot of driving around, like most of y'all do. And the biggest thing for me is convenience, or I won't do it. It's got to be easy, it's got to be something I'll use, and it has to be expedient because our lives are very busy. So I hope tonight, as I give you some shortcuts on how to hydrate, if you have that dehydrator in your basement, go blow the dust off of it, bring it up and say, I am going to try again. And I have Lily's telephone number on here if it doesn't go well. So the first thing I would caution you is please don't start with apricots. Every group that I go to, someone raises their hand and says, I did apricots once. I'm like, stop right there. Apricots take like 36 hours to do. I do not dehydrate apricots, and I've been doing this for like 6 years solid. I dehydrate 360 out of 365 days a year. I have put old boots in there that I've washed and needed to dry. If it can fit in my dehydrator, it's been in there. If the dog would dry off in there fast, it would stay in there, I'd put him in there. Okay? So I can't even tell you the stuff I put in there. I dry all of my herbs from my garden in there. I dry any herbs I get from the grocery store that I purchase in there. I'm telling you, I have put just about everything. Towels. I put my kid's head in there if I could. So, and I guess on the square one you can. But I won't do that because it's not legal. Okay, excellent. All right, and on the last page is a list of all of the books. So let's talk really quickly. Well, actually, raise your hand if you came with a question in mind tonight or an agenda. We won't go through everybody, but let's just take like maybe 5 or 6 questions on things that you want to know tonight so I can make sure I cover your question. Do you have anyone brave enough? Yes, and tell me your name.
My name is Margaret, and I tried to shred zucchini because I have like tons of it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then put it in a bag. I mean, I did dehydrate it, but now I'm thinking if I want to rehydrate it. And
Okay.
I kind of don't know what to do.
Wonderful. Okay, on zucchini, well, we'll talk about it in a minute, but one of my favorite things to do with zucchini when it's dried is to grind it down into powder, throw it in your wheat grinder, or throw it in your Blend-Tech or your Vitamix, grind it down into powder, throw it in soups, throw it in everything, throw it in green smoothies. No one can taste it. It takes on the taste of whatever you have, boosts up the nutrition, and no one, it's sneaky. It's a secret. My son's always like, is there zucchini in here? I'm like, I don't know. Is there? So yeah, so I can throw like beans, carrots, zucchinis, or beets in here, and I'm like, there could be. Because I pretty much put that in everything. So, but that was the best way to use up all that zucchini. The other way to do it is when you go to rehydrate it, you'll do it a lot like I'm going to show you tonight on the hash browns. And then you'll actually just throw it into omelets is the best way to use it. I toss it in omelets, or then I read on Sherry's blog that you put it inside your tomato sauce in your lasagna.
It's snuck in there super sweet.
That's
Looks
right.
like mozzarella cheese
right.
in there.
But if you grind it down in powder, they'll never know. So it's good, yes. Yes.
Rehydration.
Yes, that's always your nemesis.
And
We
does
will
it
work
really
on it.
take, how long does it really take to dehydrate with a round unit?
It's going to take about 1.5 times longer than it would normally. But again, it depends on if you're wanting to, again, I set it and leave it, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. I literally just set stuff and leave it, because can you ever get anything too dry? I haven't yet, but we'll talk a little bit about this and how you can get some of those things rehydrated, because I think that's been the one thing that we've talked about a little bit before, so it's good. Yes, tell me your name.
Oh, my name's Sarah, and I'm like a 2-day-old dehydrator. So
Hey!
well, I'm just visiting my mom. So my dad got me started because he got a dehydrator for Christmas.
Lured you in. It's good.
I'm super excited. So the only thing that I've done is apples,
Good.
and he says you have to put it in lemon juice, and then my mom says no, you have to put it in pineapple juice. Do you have to put it in anything?
You don't have to if you don't mind them being a little bit brown. When I throw mine on, if they're not going to a friend, neighbor, relative, someone who's like, these are white and very beautiful, my kids don't care.
Okay.
So I just throw them on. I don't care.
So
But if you
good.
want to, I mix lemon juice half with water half in a big bowl, and I'm just coring those apples and I just throw them in. And
Yeah.
just throw them in. Or I use Sprite, if I have some Sprite left over from something. So pretty much any kind of citrus, because again, you're just trying to like fight the oxidation.
Okay.
Which is like when you leave an apple on the counter
Right.
and it goes brown. So that's exactly. So if
Okay.
you want them pretty, if I know they're for my neighbors, then I have to make them look beautiful. Or I could sprinkle them with honey, toss them in a little bit of honey and a little bit of cinnamon. That way they don't know they're brown. So yeah, it's good. And they're not really brown. They're more of a, I don't know, darker. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Like just a little tinted. So, but it depends on you. So
Okay.
it depends on what you like.
Okay.
So, excellent. You can do it full strength if you want. You can do it partial strength. I just like to cut it half and half with water because it saves money on the
Right.
lemon juice. And if you want them really pretty, those things,
Mhm.
yeah, the special things you can get, those make them gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I have to really like you to spend like $8 to do a thing of apples for you. I mean, I have to really like you a lot. So I'm like, otherwise I'm like, eat this. Tastes good. Open your eyes now. Okay. Now you liked it. We're good. So, and actually, what I do on any food storage things that I give to friends, relatives, family, neighbors, is if I make a meal for them and I use anything food storage or dehydrated, I give them the meal and I go, wonderful, and I go home and I wait 7 days. And then I go, hey, how was that dinner? And they go, oh, thank you so much, you're so wonderful. I said, did you know that I used food storage in there? And they're like, oh, what? Because if I tell them today that I give it to them, they're like, oh, stomach was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And it was terrible because we're so scared of food storage. Because it's an up here thing.
Yeah.
So if I tell them 7 days later and I go, so was anyone sick? Did y'all do okay? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, sweet. Guess what? There was food storage in there. They're like, oh man, we ate food storage. And I do laugh because as a professional chef, you know, there's very few restaurants you're eating at that you're not eating something dehydrated or freeze-dried pretty regularly. I mean, I don't know how you expect to get a meal out of the kitchen, you know, in like 4.5 minutes or 8 minutes or 10 minutes, whenever all of us take about half an hour to produce a meal at home. So it's because you're eating dehydrated or freeze-dried, at least something in there. So yes, question over here. Yes, tell me your name. Wonderful, Mark, thank you.
What's the expected shelf life on these?
Okay. They will tell you my answer that I have to give you, because it's everywhere, you know, is anywhere from 6 months to a year. I will tell you now that I've opened things as old as 5 years that I've done like this and used them and they've been fine. But I would, you know, offer you discretion that, you know, if you open it and you see it looking creepy, don't use it if it doesn't smell right. However, the nice part about dehydrating is you're taking all the moisture out, and because you're not having it exposed to light or the moisture's gone, you're really protecting it from a lot of things that will usually be a problem.
Do you Mylar pack a lot of that?
I do. I'm kind of a Mylar girl. I just think it looks pretty. So yeah. And if you're ever in a crisis, you got a mirror. So I don't know. That's what I do. So we'll talk a little bit more about how I do meals as we go along. And actually, I'll just show you right now. This is a classic set of meals that I do. Well, first I'll show you this. When we go camping, this is white rice that I just packaged up that we use for the whole family. Now we usually use brown, but because anything that we're going to use store for a longer time, I will usually go ahead and take brown with us and use it. And I mix all of my rice, half brown rice, half quinoa. I love it. It tastes wonderful. It boosts up the protein level. Everyone likes it. It's wonderful. But if I want to like pack it up, so I'm going to repack it, like this one was packaged in 2009. And I want to use this at some time, I do this, and then I pack everybody's stir-fry vegetables in their own little bag so they can pick and choose what they want in their little stir-fry package. So while this is cooking over the fire, you can cook in a Dutch oven, you can cook it thermal cooker, you can cook it however you want in this. You can even put it in your sun oven, you can cook it however you want. Then everybody's little stir-fry vegetables are rehydrating in a little container while we're out fishing, doing whatever. We come back and then we eat our little stuff. And this is where the freeze-dried shrimp comes in. And again, there would be more, but all the kids in my neighborhood eat it. So, I mean, I was like going, oh, I should have done some more this week, because hello, I wanted to show you guys the full thing of all those little shrimp floating around all dried up.
It's too bad because we can't break shrimp. Instead of break bread, we can
No,
break.
it really is kind of, yeah, it is like shrimp bread. I love it. And so,
So are you saying you dehydrated
I
the
did.
rice and then?
actually not the rice.
Oh,
The rice is
okay.
actually just regular white rice with the grain still intact. However, if you
Oh.
like to make minute rice on your own that has the nutrition, you can do the brown rice with quinoa or your white rice with all of the bran and the grain still, you know, germs in it. And then actually dehydrate it and it'll turn it into minute rice. So you're gonna pre-boil it, pre-cook it, do whatever you're gonna do to it, and then throw it in your dehydrator and it'll turn it into minute rice. So, and that's a little shortcut on that, so.
Instead
But
of
yeah.
20 minutes, it takes 2
That's
minutes.
right, that's right. So I love shrimp, my family doesn't, I love shrimp, well, I should say that, my son, his friends all love shrimp, so how's that? And so, like I said, I'm gonna have them put a quarter on the counter and then they can have a shrimp, because I'm like, this is like a gumball machine. So, in the shrimp, I just throw it on the dehydrator and I dehydrate it down, because in a crisis, I want shrimp. So I love shrimp, and I do that for my stir fry. I just throw that in with my stir fry, and it rehydrates beautifully. So, and if you're not sure, we'll talk a little bit about how you use a pressure cooker. And you guys are having a pressure cooking class next month, so you don't want to miss that. And this is how you rehydrate anything difficult. So this is your turkey chicken. Unless you're on a hike, and then we talked about using a thermos, putting it in your thermos with boiling water in the morning, hiking all day long, and even if you want to dump it out and then put more boiling water, leave it overnight into the next day, you can actually keep it with you and hike with it. So when I go to create a meal for my family, for, let's say we're going camping, and you'll notice these are all color-coded. I use these little weatherproof labels from 3M. They're just called weatherproof labels at like Office Depot. And they actually, these, I can run them through the dishwasher, and this will come out with this still on it, with all the printing still on it. They're amazing. And I use them for everything. I love them. I put that on my kids, on all my kids' stuff. And so in this, I try to create meals for my family that if should I get bitten by a snake, and be in the ER, they can go to the bucket, pull everything out, and I usually tie this up in a ribbon. But I have everything in here, and this is actually just one Mylar bag, the full-size Mylar bags like I use, which if you get them from the church distribution center, this is what they look like. They're 11 by 14s.
A mirror.
And I cut this, right, and I cut this on my scrapbooking 12 by 12 paper cutter, so my husband's like, yes, she is multi-using her items, so that he makes them feel awesome for buying me the $50 paper cutter, which is really good. But in here, I just decided to do a cheddar potato soup, and these potatoes are ones that I shredded, dehydrated, and I just put everything together from freeze-dried and otherwise. I just had a recipe that I liked and put the items together, so we have a little soup. And we've got some apple slices, just like you would do apple slices. And I brought enough for our family, we'll just eat those raw. And if you want to keep the nutrition in anything that you're gonna eat raw, I actually try to keep the nutrition in everything, the enzymes active, because I'm not sure if I boil it, well, it's already gonna die anyway. But that way, if we eat it raw, I have the choice of all the enzymes being active. So I dehydrate all of my stuff between about 95 and under 105. And there's a little note on your packet on page 6 that just says on the bottom, if you like raw food and you're a raw food person, this is how you do this. Because everybody's like, well, if I do it under 150, it'll kill it. And you're right. And so if you'd like to do it, so it's just gonna take a little bit longer, and you might need to like move it around on the tray a little bit just to make sure that you flip it, so that, because it'll take usually about twice as long to dehydrate. But hey, it's not going anywhere, right? It's just sitting in there drying. So it's beautiful. All right, so back to this. And then I've got a cornbread mix that I actually ground. We actually grow dead corn, which is just your grain corn. And if you've ever tasted this, we had a little kid that came over to our house and we had all these ears of corn out, and he just went, thinking it was sweet corn, and he was like, that is disgusting. Because it is like 0 sweet and 80,000% starch. So he just bit into it, his little face was just like, I need a shrimp to cut the taste of this, yeah. So, I want your shrimp. So yeah, but this is just dead corn, I just grind this down. And you can buy this at the store in food storage format, and I love it. So I make my own cornbread, and I just add into it what I want. And then I buy some organic drink mixes online that don't have anything evil in them, and bag those up, and then this creates a meal for my family. So this would be a lunch or a dinner camping, and then that way my little tiny kids, well, they're now 10 and 12, so I guess they're bigger now. We're not scared of them being around the fire. And they can actually produce this meal themselves. And I'll cook the cornbread in my Dutch oven, or a solar oven, or an apple box oven. If you want to know how to do that, ask that guy in the back, right on the camera. So the other thing I do is I actually create my own Mountain House meals. And I didn't bring one tonight, I apologize. It had a little snafu. My daughter is clumsy, and she had it in here, and she was carrying it, and it went, whoa, and the dogs went, whoa. There was like a quarter of a cup left, and I was like, I'm not gonna make that, that's embarrassing. So what I do is, there's a wonderful book called Lip Smack and Backpacking. And it's not just this book, but there's a lot of, and these are all on your last page. Natural Meals in Minutes, these are wonderful. But this one, she actually uses quinoa, barley, millet, whatever you like to use that's really wonderful. She actually uses those and creates full meals that you actually throw in your dehydrator, and you make your own Mountain House meals, but you control what's in it. And you're not gonna die of sodium poisoning in a crisis, which is beautiful, right? And these are built for backpacking, so she tells you how many ounces they shrink down to, which I love that. And they will fit in one of these, no problem. Usually in one of these, or maybe the half size. And so I just actually take it, I make up the meal, and what I usually do is, if I'm trying one out, is I'll make it for dinner, but I'll double the recipe so that way I can put some in the dehydrator and see how it dehydrates. Love that. Because that way I just put it in there, and I just put it in one of these, toss it in, you can use a bigger one if you want, there's 4 of us. And so I toss it in here, and about halfway through, I'll usually leave it for about 8 or 10 hours, whatever, and go to, run my kids around, and then in the evening when I come back, I'll actually just flip it, or I'll go ahead and just dump it off of this onto my tray. I'll just dump it with the liner for the fruit leather. Just dump it like this, just put it back in there. And as soon as it's done, I just pull it out, break it up in little pieces, toss it in a Mylar bag, and we're good. So like this is a sample of a sausage chili that I did. It's got rice in it. It's got all these things in it. They're already pre-cooked. I just threw them in there, dehydrate it beautifully. Whenever I make spaghetti sauce and I get a little crazy, I don't know what it is, when we start cooking, we just get all excited, and we're like, I'm cooking at home tonight, it's so exciting. And so we like make all this food. I will actually take my spaghetti sauce, and I'll just pour it, when I'm done, pour it on here, because if I put it in the fridge, no one will use it. I put it in, because you know how it is, like you can only have spaghetti sauce so many days, and like need a 72-hour break, like a breakup, and then you can get back together with spaghetti sauce. So I just actually pour it on here, dehydrate it, and just rehydrates really fast. And I use it also to thicken up other things like a soup or a chili or a stew. Beautiful. So I love that. All right, any other questions or anything that someone's like, I just have to know this? Yes,
I gave away my round dryer.
okay.
I need to replace it. What brand name usage is?
Excalibur is my favorite. It's the top of the line. It's the Cadillac. They have a 9-tray, I think it's 9 trays, which is the Cadillac. It's gonna set you back a couple Benjamins. But it was interesting, when I first started dehydrating, I told my husband, I wanted to hydrate stuff, and he's like, okay, idea girl has another awesome idea. You can tell with my personality type, we're full of brilliant, wonderful ideas. And he usually comes out of his office, because he works from home, and says, so how many projects did you start today? And I say, just 4, and he's like, wonderful. Now I know what my evening looks like tonight. So he's kind of the finish guy. I'm the start girl, he's the finish guy. So whenever I come up with a great idea, my husband's like, okay. So he came to me and he said, that's it, I'm done with your brilliant ideas. He said, I will buy you a little 4-tray dehydrator, and if you can keep a running total on the fridge of everything you put on there and how much money it saves us, and it's enough money, then I'll let you upgrade it to the big one. And I said, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, I'll do it, because I'm an accountant, right? And so I have my little sheet on the fridge, and if we got done eating corn for the evening, and it could be fresh, it could be canned, it could be anything, and we ate half of it, as long as the kids didn't, inside the pan, then I would just take it, dump it on there, put it inside, and I'd be like, 52 cents, write it up on the sheet. I was trying to remember from the very first time, it was in 2008, September, it was in the ballpark of like $60 to $80 of stuff we didn't throw in the trash, because all of the the bread that starts getting stale, put it in there, I grind it down and make my own breadcrumbs, or make my own croutons. And then all those bananas that get kind of brown and creepy, and you're like, I don't know, it's scary, but I feel bad. Some kid could have eaten those bananas. You feel terrible, but we all like them, not green, not speckledy, but right in the middle. All of those, I just take them, chop those bad boys up, throw them on here, and my kids will just eat those all day long. And why do I not have any bananas to show you tonight? I've not been able to keep them on my shelf. I have never bagged up in a Mylar bag bananas.
Like
ever.
banana chips, you mean?
Like banana chips, you
So you
bet.
don't have to fry them?
What's that?
You don't have to fry them?
You're just gonna chop them straight up, and really fast, I'll show you this. And this is, and poor Sherry, you guys have already heard this, but I literally bought this for comedy. I'm not even being funny. I saw this at the grocery store, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you cannot cut up a banana? Are you serious? So I bought this, and I've been taking it for years, to like stuff and be like, this is my funny item this evening to show you. And I showed everybody this, and I was just like, bah, just laughing my head off. And then I started dehydrating, and I use it all the time. And so I wrote an apology letter to the company, like, I am so sorry for making fun of your product. Because I think I've sold about 1 million of these for them, because this is the best thing ever, ever, ever. And if you want it even thinner than this, I just take my knife and slice them while it's on there. I used to cut hot dogs for my kids on this thing. I cut cucumbers like this all the time. And I throw everything on my dehydrator. So zucchini, I'll just get it ready, and I just go, boop. And so I just feel embarrassed but actually it's really funny. There's kind of been a trend on Amazon that people are commenting on weird and random products, trying to be witty and funny. And if you guys go out and look up this product, they're about $6 on there now. The price has gone up from when I bought this. I think I paid like $3.50 or $4. But people are there's like 4,000 or 5,000 comments on there. People being like, if it weren't for this device, I wouldn't have met my wife. And so so funny, so funny. I laugh my head off, because every time I go on there, I'm like, are you kidding me? And there's devices like this that are really helpful in helping you cut strawberries. I cut mushrooms this way. I cut all kinds of things this way. Yeah, and just a quick word on blueberries before we move on, and I'll grab your question. For blueberries, they have to have a hole poked in them. People always come to me, besides apricots, their next question is, I did blueberries, and they were all half dried and half plump and half weird and all creepy. What I do is I actually string either a plastic or a metal needle on some dental floss, and I just start popping blueberries on there, and I just pop them off the back end onto my tray. They just have to have a little hole poked in them in order for them to live.
Isn't that the same way with cranberries?
It is. And actually cranberries, I go ahead and snap in half. I found that they dehydrate best if you go ahead and go, and I just pop them in one of these and just go, snap.
While they're hard or after you boil
While they're
them?
hard. While they're hard. I actually dehydrate mine hard, and I don't mind them. And so, but you can boil them as well, so it's your choice on that.
Do you ever make them like craisins?
I do, all the time, and that's how I do them on here, and that's how my kids eat them, and they'll eat a handful. And I've done it, both ways. My family doesn't care either way, whether they're boiled or not, so when they don't, I don't do it, because it's an extra step, so. Yes, and your question?
Yeah, so when you do your bananas on your dehydrator, do you use lemon juice?
I will take a spray bottle with half lemon juice, half water, and
Okay, same thing
over the
with
top of it,
lemons.
yeah. So, and then usually I'll just go like this and go on the bottom, because I'm just using it like this, and then just throw it in, so. I don't use a lot on them because I feel like they absorb the flavor, like apples really don't. But for some reason, I taste it on the bananas, so it's not my favorite. If I'm giving the bananas to a neighbor or friend and I want them to look pretty, I do this.
So you don't ever use the crystallized honey?
It depends on if I wanna toss the apples into them, then I'll toss apples in them.
But you don't use it on bananas?
I just haven't, but maybe I'll try that.
You'd like it?
Ooh, thank you, is Patty right?
Mhm.
Yes, Patty, very good. Yes, you have a question over here? Yes,
They're advertising, these companies with their dried foods that are good for 25 years.
right,
So
right.
can we do that ourselves?
Those are freeze-dried. So the difference between the hydration and freeze-dried are actually two different concepts. So freeze-dried means that there's a big lab that spent a lot of money on equipment that will flash dry something in a moment. It just like zaps it out. And I brought this as a show of, and I forgot to bring the dehydrated kind so you can see the difference. So freeze-dried, you're losing none of the volume. So you're actually getting, when you dehydrate something, you're getting about 4 to 5 times the volume, because we're actually gonna take it and pull all the water out of it, that's gonna shrink down. So on freeze-dried, it actually keeps its shape and its size. And that is just, and so those they can guarantee for a long time, because they're literally getting all of the moisture out of those, and it's maintaining its shape, and they're professionally nitrogen, packaging them under all these different conditions. Now, do I use freeze-dried foods? All the time. Why I brought this to show you is when I open a number 10 can, this is what I do with them. Is I dump a quart's worth in here, and I bag up in these bags, like this, a quart's worth, until I'm done bagging up. And then as soon as I'm done with this and it starts getting empty, I open this and dump the next quart in and start using it. And I use those all the time. Dehydration, as you can tell from the looks of these, we're actually just taking all of the moisture out as well, but we're shrinking it down. So you're actually, so this would be like, this is probably several pounds of vegetable stir fry. So, and how I do these, one of the easiest ways to dehydrate, to get food, to not have to do a ton of preparation, is to buy it in the freezer section, organic or otherwise, doesn't make a difference. Cut the top off, dump it on the tray, put it in your dehydrator, set it to 100 or whatever you want to dehydrate it at, put the lid on, walk away. Your family's like, what are you doing? I was laboring today over dehydrating stuff, it took me forever. So, and it really takes about 4.5 minutes total. And so that is the fastest and easy way to do, and I use vegetables, fruit, bagged fruit. If you go and like some of them sell blowout, bags of vegetables for 59 cents a pound, and then they'll do the fruit, you can buy it in bulk even at Costco. And I just do it like that, and when I use the fruit, I use that dehydrated in my smoothies a lot. I'll just throw it in my Blend Tech, grind it down. It doesn't matter if you have a Blend Tech Vitamix, it doesn't matter. I don't know, nobody pays me to advertise for them, so I'm not partial. I own a Blend Tech because they're down the street from me and they'll fix it. That's why I have one of those. And so I just grind down, and then I start adding all the rest of the stuff to it, and I'll just add ice to it, and then I've got a smoothie. And when I go camping, that's how I drink smoothies, is I have a hand crank blender, thank you. Love that thing, the Vortex, it's so cute. My kids are really like, it's so cute. So we call it the whirlwind, we love it. So absolutely. So there's a big difference in how long, because the company can guarantee the product, because you're doing this at your home. It's up to you. You need to feel comfortable when you open a product, smell it, look at it. If it doesn't look right, don't use it. And if it looks great, then use it. And so one of my tricks is that I take canned goods that are about to expire, and I open them up, and I rinse them out really well, and I chop them all up, and then I put them on a tray, and I dehydrate them, and I get a few more years out of them. So now the food bank will take canned goods up to 5 years expired. So if you want to be charitable, then you can turn them in. But it just depends. So if I have, a thing of diced tomatoes I haven't used. What I love about the freezer bags of fruits and vegetables or the cans is they're already blanched for you. Like blanching is when you drop it in boiling water for 30 seconds so that the skin will soften up. And I do all of my apples and pears with skins on. I love them. And because I'm gonna do them at 100 degrees, the enzymes are still gonna be living, and they're gonna have all that great nutrition. My kids just, they have no clue. But I will caution you, please, 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 my kids are allowed to take 2 bites of something dehydrated, and they have to take a drink with it. Because I think one time my son cleared through like 60 peaches. I did 60 peaches in our dehydrator and he ate all of them. And I said, baby, you have to drink like a teaspoon of water at a time until that flushes through. I don't want to be graphic or inappropriate, but I don't know how long he was in the restroom, but it was a long time. So I would say drink while you're eating dehydrated foods. Don't. And you can really blow through a lot.
And that's the same way with freeze dry.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's why, it can be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
If you're trying to eat the volume, remember, you've got to be adding the water back in, and that's what will help you bring the volume down. I told you, about a handful of apples is about a whole apple. So I tell my kids, how many apples do you want to eat? Great, 2. There you go. Thanks for coming. Because I can fit 29 big size apples or tomatoes in my 9 trays on my dehydrator. So about 29 is what I figure out. And I can have those dehydrated. If I put them in the morning, they'll be done by the evening, and I can do those day after day. So, wonderful. Are there any other questions before we move along? You're welcome just to blare out questions as you go along too.
Tomatoes?
Yes.
Do you make like sun-dried tomatoes?
I do. And you can actually add, let me see, where am I? Oh, here they are. Yeah, and I use them for everything. I grind them down into powder and make my own spaghetti sauce. Now it will be pink, not bright red, unless your tomatoes are super red. So I add 2 drops of non-scary food coloring to it so that my kids go, so beautiful, so gorgeous, and a little bit of brown, so that way it makes it a little bit more realistic. But it'll look a little pink, but it's just heavenly. I love it. And we bottle a lot of tomato sauce, but I will still dehydrate the ones that are late in the season because I don't want to pull all my stuff back out and bottle up some more, can up some more, that I'll just go ahead and dehydrate those, and I grind them down. And I use this to thicken any of our sauce that we didn't quite boil all the way down. It's a little bit runnier. I use it to thicken up all kinds of things. So I love it. And I put those in smoothies because you can't taste it. So love that. Again, I grind down all
I
kinds of
don't
stuff.
know why you whisper it. Tomatoes are a fruit.
They are.
And how
But
do you,
my kids are like, how can I put tomatoes in there? Are you? I'm like, no, of course not. So yeah, it's good.
How do you cut them? Because you
What's
can't
that?
cut it with your magic.
You know what? I actually
You hand
have
cut it?
a hand grinder, which, again, I don't mind having electrical. I have electrical of all these things. But I really think it's fun for my kids to really understand the amount of work in that way too. If the power ever goes out, we can still process, can, and do all of our own foods ourselves. But I have a hand craned meat grinder that meat slicer. Yep, that's how I do them, on a meat slicer.
Really?
Yep.
I just
Sure do.
make sure they're a little harder for you.
That's right. Or people have like those.
Mandolin.
That's right, thank you, I was going, it starts with an M. So they have those slicers and they'll just run them on there. So, but it's your choice, and you can sit there and,
But you just
Cut
make
it
sure,
into-
you try to make sure that they're all the same.
Nope.
It doesn't
it doesn't
matter
have to
if
be
one's
perfect.
wider
Okay,
or the.
the only reason why you want everything to be perfectly the same size is because you have only 3 or 4 hours to do something, and you want them all to finish at the exact same moment in time. Because I want mine so hard that I throw it on the counter and it goes plink. It makes a sound when I drop it. That it's gonna go as long as the fattest tomato, and then I'm gonna pull them off. So at the
you
end of
wait
the
for
day.
you wait for the all to be done before you take
I do.
any of them off?
I do, because at the end of the day, you can't really over dry, the most that you can take out of it is 100%. And I think, according to all of the research that I've done, that people have said you can really only take out dehydrating about 99%. So your goal is just to take out 96% or higher of the moisture so that it doesn't rot or spoil while it's in there, doesn't mold. Because a lot of people come to me and go, I have all this moldy stuff. You gotta run it longer. So again, you wanna pull one off and go plink on the counter, pick your fattest one, plink it on the counter, and then go ahead and take them all off. So I will usually.
Feel the moisture though.
What's that? Yes, that's right. You shouldn't feel moisture in it.
No.
Now on my bananas, we have 2 different groups of people. We have we don't like them hard, and we like them crunchy. And so we have the half that want them a little bit more pliable. I pull those off at about half time. And then on the ones I let them go all the way and just let them go till they're dry. So again, the only things that you really need to kind of hover around the dehydrator for is pineapple, because it will go like brown or black. And so on those, you just kind of, yes, I've done a few myself as well. So because I get lazy and I'll just set the dehydrator and walk away for like 72 hours and not even look in there. Because I just go and put whatever new I want. I'll just move everything down and just pop the new stuff on top, or pop it in the bottom if it's super wet. And I'll just walk away and I don't even look in there sometimes for like a week. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go take care of that. So I'll pull those off. I'm good, but pineapple you do need to keep an eye on. So if I'm doing pineapple, I do it in there by itself. So that way I'm on it and I set the kitchen timer to tell me to go in there. And it depends on if it's raining or not raining. Because everybody's always like, how many hours on pineapple? I usually check it in about 3 hours, flip it, and then check it in again about another hour or two. And I never do it longer than 6 hours. Because I've just not had, it's always gone brown at that point.
So is it canned
So,
or fresh?
This is all fresh. So you can do canned as well, it's just gonna look a little different. So for instance, I brought tonight peaches that, these are canned peaches that we had, you know, again, we made a dinner and everybody didn't eat peaches, they were into canned peaches. And so I just threw those on the dehydrator, chopped them up, threw them on, and then here's our fresh ones. And you'll see I leave the skins on.
So you leave this out on your calendar all the time?
Actually, it's literally a fixture on my counter, and it just stuff goes in there. My kids load stuff in there now without me even around. I'm like, yeah. So and they get like the Dehydrator of the Week awards. So
Have you ever tried another method of it,
of
of dehydrating?
as far as like in my oven, that's how I started out originally. For me, I'm not a huge fan because I had little kids at the time, and they kept getting near there, so I have to like put the baby gate around because you have to leave it cracked. And my ovens had only gone down to 107, like 170.
Not low
So you
enough.
have to crack the door. So I suggest in the winter, if you're gonna do it in the winter. There's just a couple of things I would not dehydrate in the house. Onions, garlic, spinach, smells like stinky feet.
Ew.
So if you walk in and you're just like, oh, our son came back with a spinach, no, it's spinach.
What does that look
Don't
like
do
when
it.
it's dry?
It's just kind of funky and all dried up like little spinach
And
is
how
laying there.
does it reconstitute?
Really nice, not too bad. Now again, there's some things that are never gonna plump up exactly like they looked before, so I only use that in soups. So or like if I wanna toss a little bit into like a lasagna or something, I don't try to rehydrate that and serve it like it's beautiful, it's not gonna be beautiful. So celery doesn't really rehydrate all the way back. Carrots do if you do them in a pressure cooker. So, yes.
So do you mean don't do those in your oven, or you mean don't even
Don't do them inside the house. Take
In
your
a-
dehydrator, put it on the back porch,
Alright.
and then fill it full of onions and dehydrate the heck out of them.
Okay.
Take them out and scrub that thing down with vinegar,
Okay.
and then bring it back in. So I actually have a round one that my grandma gave me
Do you
187
have that
years
in
ago.
your-
I
what-
don't,
Okay,
but
so
I'm happy
what
to,
ones? The onions?
for onions, any garlic that you're gonna do,
Anything
and then
stinky.
spinach, that's right. Anything that stinks and normally, or smells effervescent at a level that you can't handle it, so.
Okay.
But like on the herbs and stuff, I do those inside, cause they make your house smell so nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just toss my little dehydrator on the back porch, plug it in out there, and I just run it, and I just toss garlic galore in there. But I do have a round one that my grandma gave me, and I use that for onions and garlic, so that way, cause it will over time. And so, or you can have a set of these that you just use, or you can take a pair of pantyhose or nylons or whatever y'all call them here. And I'm originally from Texas, so we call everything crazy stuff. But I just actually, you can pull those over the top, tie it off, knee high, tie it off, and put your garlic on there. And when you're done, just untie it, pull it in, and then dump it off, and obviously clean. Brand new and sterilized. Yeah. Because I had a lady go, I used ones one time and they were used. I was like, are you serious? And so yeah. At some of these classes, I've heard some interesting. I've been doing a couple of these classes for a while all over Utah, and I'll tell you, I've learned some interesting things. So people have some interesting things to tell you. If I were to use a pair of nylons, if they came out of the package, I would actually dip them in bleach, scrub them out, and then pop them on, or vinegar, so that way if you want it to be more natural. And this is what I use. And it doesn't matter what brand, this just happens to be Target Market Pantry brand. That's what I use to spray. And then Trader Joe's just came out with their coconut oil spray. That's so wonderful. So I love it. And I drive all the way up to Salt Lake because I'm like, I gotta get that stuff. And I buy a case of it because all my friends want some. So I use that a lot too, and I didn't bring one tonight. So, and it's wonderful. I love it. I use it for my bread. I use it for everything. So
You
So-
spray the trays before you put
I
anything
do,
on it?
I do. And so people will tell you, don't do that, it'll go into the food. I've not had a problem with anything being rancid at
Even
all.
with the coconut oil?
Even with the coconut oil, with olive oil, I don't use like spray Pam, I don't like the chemicals in it, and I think you can taste them. And so I just try to use those things, and I usually actually use olive oil just in a mister, so that way it's just plain, and I
All
use
of
So
that.
these
you
Dr.
spray your
Nova.
trays so that
I
it
do.
doesn't stick.
So if I were to put bananas on here, I just go ahead and get a little spray, put everything down. And I've not had a problem with anything going rancid or
Well, you
absorbing
don't go
oil.
overboard.
No, we're spritzing. Yeah, we're not dousing, we're spritzing. A little goes a long way. Unlike those of us with hairspray from Texas. That's all I'm saying. So, a lot goes a long way there. So, wonderful. All right, who else had a question?
I did, but.
Yes, ma'am.
I just did some cucumbers.
Okay,
and,
wonderful.
and they were, and even the zucchini I did was really, I mean, it was dry.
Okay.
It was brittle,
Mhm.
but I just stuck them in a bag, Ziploc
Okay.
bag for now.
Good.
And, but when I had my husband taste them later, so excited for him to try it,
Mhm.
and it kind of was, it bent. I mean, you know,
Oh,
did
okay.
I not have enough,
Not quite all, so whenever you first pull it out, you wanna plink it on the counter and make sure it makes a noise. You can have it so it looks really, really dry, but it will not quite be dry on the inside. And so that's what you're looking for. And even if you snap it, it may snap, but as it sits for a little bit. Now, if you also put it in a Ziploc bag, because they're porous, and especially if it's rainy outside, they'll start taking on moisture right away. So that is why Food Saver or a Mylar bag is your best bet. And I just use these, drop the oxygen absorber in, seal it, and that's why I use these. Cause I'm like, if I went through all that time to dry that out, spend, the couple quarters a year it costs me to run my dehydrator, I better have that. And so here, really fast, cucumbers are tricky because they're not really one of the best foods to dehydrate. Now, what I use them for is, again, I like to take foods that I have an abundance of in my garden, and it's so funny because you really think in today's world people are eating healthier. They're really not. I found out, because you can't give produce away. I will contact my neighbors and be like, oh, if you have any produce left in your garden, call me. I'll be like, I got cucumbers. They're like, no, I'm good, thanks. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, we don't know what to use those for. I'm like, really? Okay. Cucumber? And so, I don't know, it's been really funny. So I dehydrate cucumbers a lot. I actually grind them down into powder and just use them in all kinds of, again, throw them in a soup, throw them in a smoothie. I just use those as fillers to add into stuff. I toss them
sprinkle on a
into
salad or
omelet.
something.
What's that? Yes,
And
ma'am.
then just,
That's
like
right, or else mix it into a
a
dressing.
dressing.
And even if it makes it a little bit thicker, I love that. So I don't like a really runny dressing, so I'll just mix those things in. Now this right here, it actually comes as a book. And Sherry knows, and Linda knows, and Gary knows, they know, that I'm a little anal retentive, that I don't like my kids with their hands all messy and their faces all messy, coming over and using my stuff, and it seems like whenever they help you, it doesn't matter if you give them gloves, they're just nasty, they just are because they're touching everything, and they'll rub their hands. So I actually take these and have the binding stripped off, and actually put them in these, so that way, as I'm looking at recipes where we have it open on the little stand, oh my gracious, I got all kinds of things hidden in there. And so that way, I can use it that way, so I just like to do that with my books, I love it. But this is the Dehydrating Bible. This is the book that you want. If you buy the Excalibur 9 tray, you will actually get one of these for free, which I love. And so, oh, actually, this isn't, oh my goodness, I brought the wrong one. Oh, I'm sorry. It's inside the handout, on the very last page. I actually brought the canning one instead of the other one. It's actually the one that's called Preserve It Naturally, and actually I do it just like this. So I was like, oh, didn't look at the. So anyway, it's called Preserve It Naturally. And in there, when you open it up, it's got a list of all of the very best fruits and vegetables to dehydrate. The ones that are good to dehydrate and the ones that they kind of recommend that you not do it, like avocados. They're just such a high oil and high fat item, they're just gonna go rancid on you. So it's not worth it. So that Preserve It Naturally, and if you
It
buy
doesn't even last for a week.
you can do it if you're gonna use it. I will sometimes dehydrate an avocado that's kind of going south on me because I don't wanna lose it. And then I'll just grind it down and throw it into a salad dressing to make it like a tomatillo ranch avocado dressing. But I use it right away. I'll do it right away. And it dehydrates kind of funky. So again, I know not to get panicked. I dice it up.
Boy, there's no way to save those things.
There's really nothing else. And there's really, for me, I've never found the perfect way. They always tell you push on it, and that should tell you, it doesn't matter for me. I never get them perfect. You just do your best on those, right? You just do your best. So, yes, what other question do we have? Another question? Yes, ma'am.
Well, you said that the Mylar bag is what you put it in, but can you put it in the jars with the
Absolutely.
lid? And then
Absolutely.
it stays just
I
as
actually,
long?
at home, whenever I put these on my shelf, I usually drop an oxygen absorber, go ahead and put the lid on it.
Oxygen absorber in
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
That's because
Now-
it takes out the nitrogen that's left in there after it sucks out the oxygen.
Okay, so these are one of my favorite things to dehydrate, and I have a little fancy trick that I use with these, because we're always having like limes and you use like half of it for something, and because you have to use an actual lime, and you've got this like whole lime left, and you always buy like 4 or 5, because you're like, 4 for 5, you know, 4 for $3 or whatever, and you feel like you have to buy 4 of them, and for me, I just always go, just get 4, it's easiest to tell my kids the number. And so I actually take them, and these are getting a little bit older, so they're normally a little bit lighter in the middle, but I just go ahead and dehydrate them. Here's oranges, I do lemons, and so that way if you have an orange that's looking a little bit puckered on the outside and you're like, nobody's gonna eat that, slice it up, throw it on the dehydrator, and then whenever friends come over, I actually toss a couple of these on the top of their water, and they start rehydrating. Oh my goodness, people are like, this is so fancy, so fancy, where'd you get these? I'm like, New York, I'm sure did. So you just tell them, you know, San Francisco, you didn't hear? And I'm like, it's sell on Pinterest, you didn't see that, you can blame everything on Pinterest, everybody's like, sell, everything's on Pinterest. So yeah, and so I always tell them that. And all I'm doing is using oranges that nobody would actually eat in real life and putting it in someone's drink. Now the amazing thing is you can actually make lemonade with dehydrated lemons. And you can do the same with orange juice, or you can make a limeade if you want to. You actually just take a big chunk, like as many as you want, throw them in, you put water in, and you throw ice in, you leave it on your countertop. And just put a lid on top of your pitcher and leave it for a few hours. Toss a little bit of sugar, xylitol, agave, whatever you like, whatever you're not scared of and doesn't make you feel like, and then throw it in there and mix it up, and it's beautiful lemonade.
So what you're doing is
Beautiful, beautiful.
steeping it.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct, but I didn't realize, you know, most LDS people don't know that word. Those of us that used to be Baptists, Southern Baptists when we were growing up, we know that word well, so it's good. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and rehydrate this. Sorry, I'm stepping out, I lied to you. While that's warming up, I'm just gonna boil some water really fast, we're gonna go ahead and rehydrate these. This is one of my favorite tricks for camping. You know those little day-old little shortbread muffins or shortbread cakes, wherever that they have over in the section, their kids are like, come on, Mom, that's for me, that's for me. You're like, baby, no, ain't mine was for you, you don't eat those. I buy them day-old when they're like 50 cents or whatever, and I throw them in my dehydrator and I turn them into this. Now, there's a few things I do with these. I put them in these so you could just see them tonight, but this is how I normally package them for camping. We go camping, I actually open these up, put them on a plate, and I usually will whip up a sauce made of some strawberries. I'll just take some strawberries, mix it with a little bit of water and a tiny bit of sugar, agave, honey, whatever you like, xylitol, whatever. Toss it in a little pan and turn it into a sauce, and then I'll have a little bit of chocolate sauce, and you can do that yourself, and a little bit of cocoa, mix it with a little bit of water, sweeten it up a little bit, whatever your choice is, and I'll drizzle these with the strawberry sauce the spoon this way, and then I'll do the chocolate over it and let it sit. It starts reabsorbing, so it's a little crunchy, but it mostly starts absorbing. My kids love this. They think this is a gourmet treat. Are you kidding me? That is awesome, because I'm not only using my dehydrated foods, but they think I'm brilliant. I love that. Mostly what happens is I can't get these done on the dehydrator without the boys in the neighborhood coming over. My son goes, look at this. They're like, what? They go, these are awesome. They eat like cookies. They think they're like hard cookies. And you can actually dip these in milk and eat it like a cookie. Is that the darndest thing? What I do is I take these and put them in my blend tech or Vimix, whichever you prefer, grind it up, turn it into like a powder or whatever, and I actually just add a little bit of butter to it. I make my own pie crusts. And I make them out of whichever ones I have. And so it's wonderful because these things are like 50 cents. And that way if I ever have a cake that I make that there's extra left, not often, then I throw it on there as well. And that way I do cookies this way, I do all kinds of stuff this way. Is that the darndest thing?
S'mores, man.
What's that?
S'mores.
You know, absolutely, absolutely. So there's a million things that you can use for those. And people are just like, are you kidding me? Anytime I make a pie for them, take the pie over, I wait a week. How do you feel after you ate that pie? Was it awesome? Man, it felt great. Wonderful. I actually dehydrated these and ground it down and made pie crust. And they're like, what? So yeah, they're like, how'd you learn that? Pinterest. So there you go, which is a total so.
Have you ever dehydrated something quirky like Oreo cookies or?
Okay, I haven't done it because those have a lot of oil and fat in them. And so, however, I did have a friend do graham crackers because she just loves them. And to me, they're a little high in oil and fat I was a little nervous. She put them in a number 10 can, oxygen absorber, sealed the top, and waited 1 year, and then she ate them, and she's still alive. So I thought that was pretty cool. Because she was like, I need a graham cracker in a crisis, okay? She's like, if I go camping or if I'm in a crisis, I need a doggone graham cracker.
Don't you
And I'm
understand
like,
that that's why people pray over their food?
Right.
Pray over to the Lord.
Sometimes you gotta pray a long
Yeah,
time
I know.
over, so yeah.
Hey, but you
sometimes-
gotta ask for sanctification.
That's right, that's right. When you better pray that you're following all the commandments, so that way it'll happen, right? So, okay, so whenever I rehydrate, because we've got the potato order coming in, I want to do hash
You
browns
have not
tonight.
got that lid on.
I do. Just pop it right on, set it right down. Yes, ma'am. This is how I rehydrate hash browns. These are from the freezer. And I just open a bag, toss them on a tray. I haven't used freezer hash browns in about, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years. That is a lot of freezer space because those bags are really big. There's a lot of air in there. So I just dump those out on a tray, throw them in. I don't check them for 48 hours. I don't even look at them. I don't even know how long they take to dehydrate. And they're already done. Or if I get a big bunch of potatoes and I don't want them to go ugly, so I keep them inside like the bucket with the sawdust in my garage with the black lid on it, all that stuff. But as soon as they start like getting a little creepy with the little shoots, I pull all that off, strip them down, shred them up, throw them on the tray, and I have hash browns. And what I do with these when I'm done, so you see they're starting to rehydrate, you can already see they're poofing up, is I just take this until the moisture is absorbed, dump off what's left, toss them in a pan. Nobody can tell the difference. So if you need to make like the funeral potatoes that everybody loves, this is so fast and easy. This is like, I tell everybody, if you want to start with something that will make you feel amazing when you rehydrate it, start with hash browns, because they make you feel powerful.
Something on to keep from going brown when you dry them.
You can, again, spray them half and half with the lemon juice,
Oh,
and
you
you know,
do.
I use the big container of it,
Even with
but
the freezer ones.
and with the freezer ones, I usually don't because they've already been blanched, they've already been boiled, they've already kind of had some processing
So
done to
just
them.
fresh.
I do. So, but I just open those up, toss them, and they've usually had some kind of whitener to keep them pretty, so that way they look good. So again, these are from the freezer section, so that's why they look kind of pretty. And so you can tell they're already rehydrating. Look how fast that is. Doesn't that make your little heart feel happy? I just love it. My kids call it the Presto Chango magical rehydrating hash browns. Yes.
I probably missed it because I came in late,
Oh, that's
but
okay.
do you use your food saver for your jars?
You
Take
can,
care of-
you absolutely can, except this is what happens if you get overzealous. So I would suggest do it a little bit and see if it's good, because I went, and the whole thing was like, so, you know, I got a little overzealous on these, I keep forgetting to change those out, so yeah, for sure. And on these, I usually try to have them pretty full before I put the oxygen absorber in there, because they will crunch a little bit, but a little bit of crunching will usually bounce back. But at the end of the day, you know, I use these enough that we're good. And again, so this is your friend if you want to rehydrate meats. Now, hamburger knots. Hamburger's easy. You just, if you're making hamburger for dinner, cook 2 pounds instead of 1. Rinse it really, really well. The 1 pound, use your pound that you're using or however much you use. Take your other pound, rinse it really, really well under really hot water.
To get
Toss
out
it
the
on
fat.
there. That's right. You're just trying to get as much fat off as possible so it doesn't go rancid on you. Take it, use your little trusty tray for your fruit leather, and you can use wax paper, you can use parchment paper, you can use pretty much anything. Like, it's very, very forgiving. Throw it on there and just pop it inside of there, and just, hamburger's easy and it rehydrates super, super easy. Hamburger's the best to just throw in a container like this, pop it on the edge somewhere, let it rehydrate. If you want
It
to even
doesn't
set
change
it,
the texture at all,
you know, in hamburger,
because
it
candy
doesn't.
does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I found, because I use a very, very low-fat hamburger, and I'm usually using organic or grass-fed beef, whatever, no problems. If you're using a super, super fatty,
Like
lower
regular
end,
brand.
right, like something you just buy super bulk, it depends on the brand. So really on that, you know, it's okay to spend a little bit of extra money and make it great. And what's nice is if I ever have a dish where I've used a casserole and I've used hamburger, I have no problem throwing that at the end. When we have half a casserole left, toss it right on top of the pan, or right on top of here, smush it out, throw it in, dehydrate the whole thing, it rehydrates beautifully. And if I want to make it faster and make sure it all rehydrates at the same pace. So raise your hand if you know what this is and you're not scared of it. Good. Raise your hand if you'd like to not be scared of it.
I am scared of
Yes.
it, I know what it is.
How long does hamburger keep?
A hamburger, the hardest part is I use it so fast, like if I do a pound and then keep a pound. I use it usually the next week, but I think I've kept some about a year and felt pretty good about it. But again, you're gonna wanna really kind of smell it, watch for it. The only meat that you should not do at all is pork. Just way too high in fat. And they don't suggest that you do pork in any way. And so I don't do any pork. The only thing that I do is I do chicken and turkey. And if you rehydrate it only a short period of time, it can be a little stout, so I've heard. And so, yes.
What if you smoke it though? Can't you, seal it in those?
Sure. I've had friends do it. I haven't done it myself. So you need to try it out and see. Again, I don't know how long it would last. Again, I think it depends on how, how oily the meat is, how fatty it is. That's gonna really determine if it goes rancid. So at the end of the day, you might wanna use it more quickly. So hamburger, I just keep in one of these. I just keep the shrimp and the hamburger together. On any of the sausage that I use, I just buy freeze-dried. So I buy sausage crumbles freeze-dried, and any pork products freeze-dried otherwise. And I do buy chicken and stuff, but I don't really like the freeze-dried chicken. It tastes kinda, I don't know.
Rubbery?
Those little, well, kinda airy, like, I don't know, it tastes funky and it doesn't rehydrate as beautifully. So I do real chicken, and I just shred it up, drop it on, and then I'll usually just go ahead and just pop it in the pressure cooker. And so next month you guys will have a class on this, and please come and take it. It is wonderful. I cannot believe my grandma all my life was like, you need to be pressure cooking. I'm like, no, it's scary, it's like steaming, and like sounds like a train, and I don't wanna do it. I cannot believe that I missed the most wonderful tool ever. This thing cooks beans in like no time. Oh my gracious, if you got beans that have been in your food storage for like 60 years, you pull those bad boys out, you go ahead and soak them overnight because it makes you feel better. It's not going to do anything to them because those things are evil. And so they're just like, I am never going to rehydrate. And so you just put those bad boys in here and you just fire it up and they're like, I'm melting, I'm actually rehydrating. Yeah, so I love this thing. And so I actually have one that I take camping and I use on fire, and I've had great success. So they'll tell you not to do that, so I would never advertise. My disclaimer is you shouldn't do that according to all of the known warnings. I do it all the time and it works great, so. Use your own discretion. So, yes, what other questions do you have? Yes?
Have you talked to anyone that's dehydrated on not on pressure cookers, on sun ovens?
As far as like used it for dehydration? I have had some people do it. I haven't had extensive time to talk to them and find out about their experiences, but I do understand that it works well. So now I have used my car. We had an old truck that, we have like 1988 Ford F-250 pickup truck that we have just kind of parked, and you can actually dehydrate stuff by just popping it in the window, because those windows are so, and the truck is hot, right?
Don't
So I'll
laugh,
just
that's the
pop
way
it
I
in there.
started.
That's right, well, that's, in a crisis, that's your solar dehydrator,
Well, I
you don't need a
even
one.
used the screens off my house,
That's
I
right.
just cleaned them up
That's right.
and
That's
put it on and.
And the only warning on that is that they will leach a little, so you wanna just be careful. So sometimes I go ahead and pull pantyhose over the top of that, so that way, absolutely. Because that kind of galvanized, screen has a few extra chemicals in it, that would be the only warning on that. So, yes.
On your round dehydrators,
Mhm.
can you buy parchment paper cups for
Absolutely.
that, or what?
Absolutely, I think they sell it online.
Okay.
I've pretty much seen they sell most
Just
everything.
cut it yourself. Did you?
Yeah. So, and you can, surely in your scrapbook stuff from like back in the day before we all went digital and it's so much easier, you got some kind of round cutter in there, surely. So yeah, your husband will be like, that you're using that $10,000 in scrapbook supplies like we all bought. Oh, bless our hearts.
Just a
Yes, ma'am.
tip on the meat,
Okay.
if you're dehydrating beef,
Mhm.
get cuts that say loin on it, they have less fat in it.
Wonderful, thank you. And that's from a chef. Thank you very much. So, and then Sherry can tell us in a second a little bit about her beef jerky. What I do for beef jerky is, because my kids are little, I don't want to use raw meat because I'm just not there yet, because they're just too little and I am nervous. So I go to the deli section and I get the 98% fat-free roast beef, and I either have them slice it for me or I just buy the big hunk of it, bring it home, and my little meat slicer, my kids are sitting there in the little sweatshop slicing meat, and I actually just chop it into slices, whatever marinade I want, I soak it in there, and I just run it across my dehydration trays and I just throw it in. And I love it, it's really wonderful. Now on that, I don't do it 100 degrees. I make sure any meat I do at, because we're going to cook it, we want it cooked and the bacteria to die. So in those, I think I do them about 160 or 170. So they'll say in your handouts do it at 145. I want those things dead. So, and I'm from Texas, we like our cows cooked, so, yes. And so Sherry, what kind did you use? What kind of meat did you use? Use London,
I think it was London broiled.
it was London broiled.
I don't know, I made
That's
a new
right.
friend at Macy's. and
Oh,
he
this
helped
is
me
good. That's
At the
wonderful.
meat counter.
So again, that's gonna be low, really low fat, and that's why it was so lovely. And you're right, yours probably came out about the same price.
It was pretty
Within the
close,
range.
cause I didn't get it on sale.
Right.
Cause I went
Right.
for a roast that was on sale, and then the butcher was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
you can't do that. So then I got a full price one, and I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm like going for, so next time I'm watching for the sale on the
That's
meat,
right.
then
Buy it in bulk.
it'll, yes.
Buy in bulk, so excellent. But I will say, mine ends up being about half price from what is at the store, and then again, I know what's in it, and there's no other chemicals, which is a huge deal.
Well, and it makes your husband so proud.
I'm telling you, my husband's always like, is it beef jerky day? You love me.
I know.
He's like,
My
I'll marry you
husband
for
thought I
another
was-
19 years. That's right. That's right. He was like, the first 19 were nothing compared to now. Yeah, so for those of us from Texas, beef jerky is meat, like regular lifestyle meat, so yeah, it's good. Miss Patty, yes ma'am.
Have you ever dehydrated cheese?
Okay, cheese is the other thing. Dairy products are the other thing you want to be very careful about.
That's why they freeze dry.
That's right. So I buy all of my cheese and pork products freeze-dried, but I can afford to do that because I do this with so much of the other things I have. Really fast, let me talk about pumpkins. This is about 7, I think it's 7. I think I put 7 in here. Pumpkins, pie pumpkins that were about this size, I grew in my garden. I take them out of my little garden, bring them inside, they're so cute, I just pet them and kiss them. And I set them on the counter and I slice it right down the middle, like long ways. So the top, the little fine parts at the top and the cute little bottom. And I take a cookie sheet or actually a 9x13 pan. I put one of my cooling metal racks over the top of it, my cookie racks. Over the top of it, I fill it with water. I put those pumpkins face down so that the inside, the scoopable part of the pumpkin is face down to the water. I put them at 350 degrees for about an hour and a half. Kind of watch it because you don't want the top to burn. Anywhere from an hour and 15 to about an hour and a half. And I steam those pumpkins, I scoop it out, and I just drop it straight on my trays. I haven't purchased a thing of pumpkin puree in forever. This is how I keep it. And as soon as I want to use it, I dump it into a little jar, and I just throw the boiling water on it and let it sit. And this rehydrates pretty quickly because it's very, very thin, you can tell. I do it pretty thin on there, so this turns out like a fruit leather, but I let it go really long, so that way it's chipping. So it's kind of folded up a little bit, and I pop it off and it kind of chips up. And my husband actually takes this, I was telling Sherry, and grinds it down, tosses a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of either brown sugar or xylitol or whatever he likes for the day, and tosses it over his granola. It's yummy. My kids actually eat this like, just drop a little honey on the top of it, put it on their mouth, and they just eat it. Yes, ma'am.
When you're rehydrating, how much
Mhm.
water do you know to put to how
Okay.
much stuff you put in?
Wonderful, thank you. Fruits and vegetables are different because we want to make sure that we're not swimming our food in it. So that way, because the more water you have, we're hoping that any of the flavors or the natural essence of the fruit that leaches off will then be reabsorbed. So we want to make sure that you just barely cover all your fruits and vegetables. Fruits you always want to do in cold water. And your vegetables you want to do in boiling water. It doesn't have to be boiling, it can be warm. What's nice about vegetables or those things is you can just throw them on, and fruit, you can throw them on overnight. If I ever fold blueberries into my pancakes, I throw dehydrated blueberries on the counter, I put some cold water in there, I put a top on it, I set it on the counter, and I go, see you in the morning, and I go to bed. I come down in the morning, and I'm a natural yeast girl, so I dip some of the natural yeast starter out, make my pancake mix, let it sit for about an hour, or I'll even mix it the night before, let it sit so the enzymes are working on breaking down the gluten and everything in there. Fold in those blueberries, they're gorgeous. I just dump off any water that's left, toss them in, and do it. I do that with strawberries, I do that with apples, I do that with everything. Apple crisp. I don't think I've used a real life, like still alive or somewhat alive apple in an apple crisp in years. Because you usually have to make it at a moment's notice, and you look in your drawer and you got 2 apples left, and you're like, what am I gonna do with that? And so I actually just make those out dehydrated apples all the time. Just set them on the counter, a little bit of cool, lukewarm water for the apples, let them sit, toss them up, dump the extra water off, and then put them in the oven with the apple crisp. Love it. It's wonderful. So, good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on here that I wanted to tell you
So
about.
fruits, cool, water, vegetables.
Right,
boiling
and if you look on your handout, and if you're on your
Page 8.
Thank you, page 8. That gives you a little bit of an idea on the bottom, kind of if you've got 1 cup of this, do this much, and use, soak it for this long. Now the soaking time is gonna depend on if it's dry outside or if it's humid, how long the food's been dehydrated. The longer the food's been dehydrated, it's gonna take a little bit more to rehydrate it. So if it's only a week old, it'll rehydrate quickly. And remember, everything's not gonna bounce back to its perfect off-the-vine state. Now the way that I know how something's ready to be dehydrated, in my drawers in my kitchen, is if nobody will eat it, it's ready. Because as soon as you see a pepper, it's like a little puckered up pepper, it's like, that's going in the trash. That pepper has all of its sugars developed, the enzymes are going crazy. That thing is beautiful. I never dehydrate an apple that someone will still eat because it's not ready yet. We like fruit a lot less ripe than we should eat it, because we've been trained that you gotta eat it expediently, because you don't want it to go ugly. So as soon as it gets all puckered up and creepy, and it's like, in the drawer, and everybody's walking by it like, So if you put it in a Halloween parade, pull it out, chop it up, like apples, when they get to the point they're so puckered that they're like all creepy or whatever, I'm like, those are gorgeous.
Same
And
with
when
bananas.
Peaches, wonderful, you don't even have to blanch them, you just peel the skin off, because they're already about falling apart, you just go strip, 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 put it on. And I actually do my peaches with the skins on a lot of times, because they're already so deflated down, they'll just dehydrate beautifully. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a rule of thumb to how thick you want to cut things, or how thin?
It depends on, I never go more than about 1/4 of an inch. Again, I don't pull out a ruler and go, okay, let me see. And being the accounting kind of personality, like I should, right? Because I like things to be kind of even. But that's why oftentimes we use one of these, because I'm gonna get them about the same.
Is that, see, I would have looked at that and thought that would be too fat. That's not?
No, because they're gonna actually
All
lose a
right.
lot of moisture really,
Okay.
really fast. What you're just gonna watch is making sure that the middle is done before you take them off. And again, if the middles are not done, it will not plink on the counter in the same way. It'll go clunk, but you want it to go clunk, like a clunk, and that's when you know they're ready. So now I can eyeball it because I've been doing this for so many years. But the biggest thing is people get scared that they're gonna over dry it, so they keep hovering around their dryer. And they're looking in there, and they're walking around it. My thing is, set it during the day, go to bed, and don't even look at it till the next morning. Just don't even do it. Untrain yourself for being worried. Walk away, except for pineapple. But I tell everybody, start with apples and bananas. Apples, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Because that way you won't hate dehydrating. I know it, right? That's good. So start with apples and bananas, put them on there, and go, okay. The apples are, a little bit puckering, and the bananas are all speckled, really, really speckled, almost brown and scary. Cut them all up, put them in there, set it in the afternoon and evening, and I want you to walk away and don't even look at it till the next morning after breakfast, after carpool, after scripture prayers, whatever you do. Don't even go look. And then I want you to open it, look in there and go, so cute. And if you're gonna dip them in honey and cinnamon, go ahead and do it. If it's not did it the night before, and I just throw them in a big bowl and just toss them with honey and a little bit of cinnamon in there and just dump them on the tray. That's how I do it. So, and you can make your own granola in the dehydrator. You can make your own flax crackers. They're wonderful, lovely, lovely. So, and really fast, as you see, look at our gorgeous. Aren't they so cute?
Wow.
Doesn't that just make your heart feel happy?
Wow.
So you'll notice in there I covered just a tiny bit above how much I had in there, and you'll notice I've got very, very little moisture left. So pretty much any of the essence of the potato that might have flown away and then we dumped off, we're not going to, because we pretty much have it. And with the little bit that's in here, I'll just dump it in my pan, because I'm likely gonna toss it with some other stuff, and I'll toss it with some peppers, which you can also rehydrate. And those I will probably do in here, because I want them to go really fast, or I'll set up green, red, yellow, orange peppers, or I'll set them up the night before, rehydrating. Come in, pop this in the morning, dump those both in my pan, toss them, whatever moisture's left in here will burn off. And so I love it, and these will taste, you go, it tastes like regular hash browns. I will never have to have 50 bags of hash browns, and these go on sale all the time, and then when you get your potatoes, I love that. I love that. And people ask me, can I do this if it has seasoning on it? Absolutely. The only difference between getting something that has seasoning or salt or any type of additional flavoring on it is it'll take a little bit longer to rehydrate. It just affects the rehydration. So when I make a meal, I always season at the table. I never make anything with seasoning in it unless the recipe calls for it, like a spaghetti sauce or whatever. I actually have a salt, pepper, do any additional garnishing at the table, because that way if I want to put it on a tray and dehydrate it, I know it doesn't have a lot of excess salt and other things in it. And it won't kill it, but again, where I make my own Mountain House meals because I want to control the sodium in it, huge. So, but what have you guys done that's been successful? What have you guys like dehydrated that you feel like is your crowning achievement? So, yes.
Well, this is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Apples?
Oh, I just said apples.
Okay, so still proud of you.
Well, this isn't dehydrating, but I guess it kind of goes to her comment is that with cheese, what you can do, and yeah, you know, you can't dehydrate it, but you can wax it and keep it in a
Right.
cool basement or
Right.
cellar. It doesn't even have to be a fridge, it's just kind of a cool place. And it will keep for years.
It's great. I
Yeah.
just hang it from, in my basement, I just hang it
Yeah,
from one of the rafters. I have little, like those little, you know, mug hooks, and I just hang them in like
Yeah.
little,
Can I tell you
but I
about
think it has to be
aging
special
though?
wax though.
I took a professional cheese making course up at Utah State. This is the only reason why I know this. When you buy cheese and wax it, okay, it has already gone 90 days to become on the store shelf, to be mild. Cheese continues to age.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're thrust into the sharp and the extra sharp. If you don't like it, don't think it's gonna just stay normal once you
Yeah,
wax
that's
it.
right.
It
Yeah,
continues
it
to
gets
age.
sharper and sharper,
yeah,
yeah.
that's right. So just make sure you get a super, super mild.
Or make your own and start
That's
off
right,
that
that's
way.
exactly right. And a lot of people like to make their own yogurt and do it in a dehydrator. That's another great use for the dehydrator. So again, you know, where I use a lot of the things that I have already at meals or whatever, and I don't want to throw them away, and if I put them in the fridge, no one's going to eat it. And I got tired of year after year opening my fridge and seeing all these lovely science experiments in there. You know, all these things look at me like, clean me out. And then you're like sitting there having that talk with yourself like, this is a bowl. Do I want to wash this? Do I value this bowl enough to have to open this thing and deal with what's in here? And then you're like putting it in a Ziploc bag, rushing it outside, and your kids are like, screaming through the house. You know, I had the decision that I had a bad relationship with foods like that, and I didn't want to do it. That's why I throw everything on the dehydrator. Because as long as I've got this, and as long as I've got warm or cool water, and it can sit like this, I can make it work.
So you're
And I
not a
like it.
pressure gal for canning?
I'm a pressure gal for everything. I love it. If I had been brave enough to use this before several years ago, I would have saved myself a lot of trouble in the past. But I do pressure can as well.
Occasionally.
Love it. Quite a bit actually. I love it.
Me too.
So yes, I only water bath can for a lot of years because I was too scared of it. Then when I finally did, I was like, what was I thinking? It's so awesome. So I mean, I would put my kid in there if I could, and put my bottle and sit in my college. I mean, I love it. So I won't really do that. Yes.
Yogurts. How do
Okay.
you do them?
I actually am not a yogurt girl, and so I don't make my own. I do kefir, and so that just needs to be done in the fridge. So, but I do have a friend that does it, and she said if anyone in the class wants to know more about it, contact me, email me afterwards, and I'll give you her number.
So you make it on the dehydrator, or
You actually start
dry it?
with how those
You
of you
can
that.
keep the start
That's
dehydrated
right.
and redo it, just like you can yeast.
That's right, absolutely. And then you're just gonna use it to actually culture inside, so that way you're just kind of speeding up. You're just adding a little bit of heat to speed up the process. Absolutely. I just do kefir in the fridge, so I don't really use the heat for it at all. I like
What
it.
is kefir?
Kefir is basically a natural, what do you call it? It's just, it breaks down some of the lactose and some of the things in the dairy to make it more digestible. So
I think
basically,
all
that's
of
right, cows
kefir
have 4
crystals.
stomachs for a purpose that all the things they eat, they can break down. We have 1 stomach and it's kind of wimpy. And so our stomachs, we have a lot of digestive
It's a
issues.
probiotic, let's just put
Thank
that
you,
way.
yes, thank you, okay, yes. Let the professionals tell you all the detail. I'm from Texas, we're like, well, there's a thingamajig in there, and it hooks up with the doodle-hickey, and it, so you don't want me to tell you anything else, I'm jacked up, so it's good. Yes,
Have you found any foods you shouldn't mismatch or shouldn't put in the trays at the same time?
yes.
Can you give us some hints from maybe your top 3 or 4 things?
Okay, anything that's super droopy, don't put on the top. Hey, Sherry, how you doing? Okay, see some faces I know, some graduates of my program before, that are back, it's good. Anything that's super droopy, don't put on top, it's just gonna drip down. So I always do like corn at the top because it is not super drippy. And then put everything on the bottom. I like to do vegetables with vegetables, fruits with fruits. You don't have to, but there's a few things that will cross that are kind of unexpected. Broccoli will cross with, some of your peaches will absorb a little broccoli taste, and I don't like that. So yeah, there's a few spinach broccoli.
Yummy.
Your vegetable and fruit all in the same pie, so it's lovely. So, I'm not keen on that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, cause I'm sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
Cause I dehydrated peaches, and honestly, my daughter's like, well, those didn't taste like anything. They're not very.
Oh, they didn't taste
they're
at
not-
all?
They didn't, barely peachy flavor. Not like, cause pears are the
Interesting.
favorite at our house.
Right. Now, what kind of peaches did you use?
Probably lemon Albertas.
And then
'Cause
how
they
long
were-
did you let them go? Did you let them go to the point that they were like so squishy, they were almost falling apart, or did you do them when they were really, really ripe?
Isn't almost falling apart really right?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you use them when they were less ripe? There you go.
Well, they were plenty ripe, no, because I dried the ones that like had bruises and all that
They were
stuff,
kind of
so.
creepy, they're kind of creepy, okay. They should have tasted, now you didn't rehydrate them in water, this is just
No,
eating
this
them.
is just eating them
Okay.
dry, cause I wanna
The
put
sugars
in
just need to
lunches.
develop more, and it may have been that it's just the type, or.
Cause lemon Albertas are a tartar peach
Okay.
than others.
If they're tartar, they will usually go a little flatter. If they're sweeter,
'Cause it's a
you're really
candy.
looking for more of a sweet, more of a sweet fruit. Is that your vineyard experience?
Lemon Alberta's a candy peach.
Okay,
They're
that's
so
fine.
nice and they stay
That's
firm,
fine.
they are great for candy.
Wonderful. Then just use them for canning.
Can
Pretty
I-
much any fruit that you will
Can I
eat.
say, you don't want to like do mushrooms in your house?
Okay. Oh, mushrooms. Add that to the stinky list. I guess I do in my house, but I love the smell of mushrooms. I love them, but spinach smells like stinky feet.
Yeah,
So,
that's too. Well,
yes,
mushrooms,
it does.
mushrooms were, like I bought a case of mushrooms, because they were on a good deal, so I bought a case, and my daughter, I came home and all the doors were open in the windows, and
Yeah.
it was winter time, and I was like, what's wrong,
Crying
was
and
there a
screaming.
fire?
That's
And she's
right.
like, holy cow, because I've been gone all day, I like cinnamon.
I guess I didn't bring them. Here's another thing I like to do is sweet potato fries. I do those when we go
Those are
camping.
yummy.
I just put them on some boiling water, boil them back up, toss them in a pan, season them up. My kids love that because I just feel like, in a crisis, I need some sweet potato fries, you know what I mean? So those are fun.
So you fry them first?
I actually just take them, if I make them myself, these actually were from a freezer bag. Just took them,
Oh,
dumped
so they
them on
had
the
already
tray.
been fried?
They'd already been done. And then I just rehydrated them when we went camping. And I think I did them in here because I wanted to do them in about 3 or 5 minutes because I wanted to do them quickly. And then I just dumped them in a pan, tossed them up, just so they crisp up a little bit, and then just added some seasoning to it. My kids were like, "This is the best food." It could have been because we were camping, and you do get hungrier and everything tastes better in the woods. I don't know. It could be that. So
I could never, see, here I'm at still my clutches, because you've inspired me and I've really been dehydrating all summer.
good.
And I did a bunch of zucchini, which sliced zucchini is great for soups,
That's right.
but the shredded, did you already ask this? They said you can use it for zucchini bread, so I rehydrated it and used it, it wasn't as good as fresh.
It's, you know what, there's a few things that just, because again, zucchini and cucumbers and celery are like 98,000% water, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to add water back in it, they're gonna go, hey, we're gonna do our best over here, but you took all the water out of us. We're not gonna look as awesome as we did before. So definitely on that, but usually, I don't know, I've had some friends who grated it, or not grated it, but turn it into powder and then used it in there, so you're not gonna taste a piece of zucchini, but it will have, and they said it was actually fine.
Oh, well,
So-
I mean, it was fine,
Okay.
but it wasn't
But it
as
wasn't the
good
same as fresh. Well, at the end of the day, again, we're using these things
But in the
because we
middle of
wanna
the
have
winter,
fun.
it will
That's
probably be
right.
fine.
That's exactly right, because you're not gonna, you can freeze zucchini,
Cause I
but even then.
Because I
some of
actually
the
did like
flavor-
one batch with the dried and one batch with
So that way you
fresh,
guys can
and so
use
it
it.
was like side by side.
Yeah, well, don't do that in the future. And put a lot of extra brown sugar in the one that's rehydrated, so that way they'll be like, this is the better one, so it's good. Yes, ma'am.
What do you do with the shrimp?
I actually rehydrate it and actually put it in like stir fry that I do when we go camping and stuff. But what I usually do is grind it down and use it in clam chowder or use it in any of my fish soups. Love it. So, or if I want to add a little bit of flavor to a boring chicken soup or sausage soup that I like, I'll just add a little bit of shrimp. And I just do it to mine because everyone else in my family was like, evil, except the boys in the neighborhood. So, yeah. So I grind it down a lot. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of funky, huh? Makes me feel happy. I don't know. It just makes me feel
You have to
happy.
clean your grinder every time you.
I actually
Change
just,
from
on
one
those, I just
item.
use them in my blend tech. I'll just grind it in my blend tech. And I have one jar that I use for smoothies and I have one jar that I use for, because it's kind of pitted up, and I use that to grind down all my wheat, and then I use it to grind down anything else. So, yes, ma'am.
Have you ever done salmon?
I haven't, but you've inspired me tonight. I'm gonna do it. So I will email out and I will send pictures and we can put them on the blog. So I will do salmon. I have to read up though, because there's a few fish that they tell you not to do. Salmon might be on the list, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
It's pretty oily.
So, it is pretty oily.
Yeah.
But I think if you know, sometimes you can buy it and you can, I don't know, there's some
I've got
safety
150
ways.
pounds on my freezer from an Alaska.
Oh,
Fishing trip for my cousin.
Yeah, just have salmon twice
Yeah,
a
just eat
week.
salmon.
Just have a big party.
No, I have friends who actually bottle salmon, and then they'll use it for salmon croquettes, or whatever you call them. And there's an amazing, like, little muffin tin recipe that I have for some little salmon croquette muffins that you use with a little mango chutney. My kids are like, this is like a 12 out of 10. Like, they love it, and that's kids eating it, so I'll make sure that recipe goes out as well. So.